I am so excited to have Miss Cheryl here. Listen, you guys, Cheryl and I met a few weeks ago. We are a part of the Alliance, and it is a group for entrepreneur women. We're trying to start our businesses and get it to grow. And Cheryl and I connected. We were in one of our meetings, and I just invited her. I was like, if you want to come on my show, please come on the show because I want to bring women to talk about issues and stories and all in our past, so that we can know that we're connected. We're all the same. We all go through a whole lot of stuff. So, with that said, Cheryl, please tell us about yourself.
Oh, thank you, Miss V. It is a pleasure to be here on your show. I am a retiree. I retired almost a year ago now after a 32-year career as a human resources professional. Um, and I relocated, my husband and I, we relocated to Arizona, and we are enjoying and living our best life. I have four children. I have six, I think it's six grandchildren,
Wow.
and I am enjoying this new chapter of my life. And I'm excited about where God is leading me. And I'm
Wow.
just grateful for this opportunity. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I must say, you look good to have grandchildren, girl. You don't look like you would have them. So God is really blessing you. As
Yes,
they
He
say, look,
is.
black don't crack. Well, you are a prime example because you look beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
I know that you listen to my podcast. I know because we went back and forth. And so tell me, when you were listening, what story resonated with you? What story did you want to talk about today?
So, in all honesty, so many of your stories resonated with me. They really were. Actually, I wrote them down in my journal because I couldn't decide. But the story that kept coming back is never give up.
Ooh.
And so I'm like, okay. So I listened to it, I think three, maybe four times to just really see what was it about that story that truly resonated with me, and it would be something that I could speak about in my own life where I never gave up. And so that was the story that I thought we should talk about.
Oh, that's good. I went back and listened to some of my stories, and you are like another one of my guests. She went through, and it was so many stories that jumped out at her, but one story kept coming back to her just like you. And that's the story we talked about. And it makes my heart warm that, that when you're listening, there's something that goes, oh my God, this is great. This is what I've been through. I want to talk about it. So I am so happy. So listen, I'm going to listen, audience. Let me tell you about the story she's talking about. If you haven't heard it or if it's been a while, here is a kind of like a summary of it. The name of the story is Never Give Up. And it's about a time in my life when I used to hang out with my big daddy. And there are stories in there about my big daddy, and I love him because during that time, he was my great grandfather and he had businesses. And hanging around him, I wanted to be a beautician because he had a barbershop, a beauty shop, he had a busing company, he grew crops, he had all kinds of businesses, and I wanted to be like him. So that was my desire, and I wanted to do it. But that wasn't my father's desire. My father wanted me to go to college right after high school, and I knew I was not ready. I had my license to do hair, and that's what I wanted to do. So he told me, if you don't go to school right after college, I am not paying for it. And I thought about that thing and I made a decision. I'll just have to pay for college myself. And I started doing hair. I worked in a salon. I had some good experiences, and one really bad one where the owner told me that I wouldn't make it as a stylist because I was fluffy, AKA fat, and I was too young. Never heard that before. Long story short, I left that person. I left her, but I worked in other salons, and I, encounter all kinds of things, jealousy and all haterations and all that. But at the end of the day, when it was time for me to go back to school and I wanted to go back, I went back on my own. I paid for it myself, and I did not. I wanted to be on my own salon, but I didn't give up on being a business owner. I don't own my own salon, but I'm a storyteller and I help people find and tell their stories. So I have my own business. And that all came way back from my Big Daddy. So if you want to listen to it, it's called Never Give Up. So when you listen to the story, what were your thoughts?
Well, I saw some similarities or parallels between your life and my experiences. One being you had the influence of a grandparent. Yours
Mhm.
was a great grandparent. Mine was my great grandmother, my paternal grandmother. And then also the fact that our fathers, whether alive or not,
Mm.
had an impact on the education that we had, whether it's, college education or life education. Their their lives impacted us as well. And then the fact that just having to invest in ourselves at
Mhm.
some point in time in life. Similar to you, I had to self fund my own college education.
Wow.
And
Makes
so
me feel good.
we did it.
Mhm.
So, and I'm grateful for that. It for me, it gave me a greater appreciation, and I think that was reflected in my academic standing. Um, Not to toot my own horn, but I graduated from community college, a 4-year university, and my master's, all with honors.
That's awesome. Yes. I said that I wrote a story a little while ago about me getting a C for the first time because I was traumatized. And just like you said, I myself, because I was paying for it, I work hard because I'm like, if I'm paying for it, I'm busting the A's. If I get a B, I'll be all right, but nothing less than that. So, yeah, I feel you when you say that.
Mhm.
When you paying for something yourself, you have a bigger appreciation for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I'm just grateful for that experience. So those were the things that I really, after again listening to it a couple of times, that I'm like, okay, yes, I have the same some similarities. And so it was good.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I because of this story, do you have a story of something that happened to you in your life? Because like for me, being a business owner, wanting to have my own salon and all those things, was it something that happened in your life that you just was like, I am not going to give up on this?
Well, the truth is, my life has gone through a number of detours on this road to getting my education. When I was a teenager, my father passed away when I was 16. And getting ready to start my senior year of high school, I wanted to stay in California because that's where I had gone, my 3 years before school. My mother and father had been divorced for some years, and she wanted me to move back to Oklahoma. Well, I didn't want to go. And so, after some begging and pleading and negotiations, she agreed to let my older sister and brother become my legal guardians.
Oh, wow.
So they became my legal guardians so that I could stay in California and graduate high school
Oh.
with my family and my friends. So that was a good experience, and I did well, but I didn't get the opportunity to go away from college because that was my dream all along before my dad got sick is I'm going to go away to college. I want to be a fashion designer. So I'm going away. I applied everywhere I could, just somewhere outside of California or away from home, more or less. But when he passed, all of that changed.
Mm.
And so my paternal grandmother said, you got to stay close to home. You're going to go to college right here, which was San Francisco State University. Actually, it was my dad's alma mater. You want to go there? I want to go. So, long story short, I rebelled and I did not see myself really focused to go to college. And so with that, I goofed around. Life happened. I went to the University of Life, and I became a single mom, at the age of 20. But it wasn't until I had my daughter and I had an experience at the age of 27 when the first time that I can recall, ever experienced racism and discrimination and gender discrimination.
Wow.
And that experience really traumatized me, so much so
Mm.
that I literally went home and cried and sat with my mom and said, "You and daddy sheltered me too much," because I didn't know that it existed. I never missed out on an opportunity for a career option, a job, or anything because of my race, because of my age, or anything. I didn't know that that existed because that wasn't my experience.
Wow.
And so for me to have been denied an opportunity when I was even encouraged to apply by a higher official to apply for a job, and I didn't get it because I didn't have a college education, is what they ultimately
Hmm.
said is, well, you
Hmm.
don't have a degree, you got to have a degree. Well, not really, but I didn't know how to fight then
Yeah.
and really counter that. And so the only thing that I knew how to do, which I know now, it was God pushing me. Go back to school.
Mm.
You can show them better than you can tell
Amen. I know that's
them.
right.
And so I went back to school part time. No, I went to school full time, took a job part time as a single mom, staying at home with my family because we had a family home. And I busted it out. I did what I had to do
Hmm.
to better my circumstances and my situation. And through hard work, trials, I persevered. I graduated with high honors,
Hmm.
got my AA degree. I
Hmm.
transferred to a 4-year university and did what I needed to do there to finish up. And I just love the funniness of God because he had me come all the way back around, and I ended up getting my bachelor's degree at San Francisco State University
Wow. Full circle.
almost 15 years later. I'm like, you got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
But I did. And I'm so grateful for that because one, it showed my daughter and the others that you can always go back to school. It's never too
Never
late.
too late.
And don't let anyone put boundaries or limits on you as to what you can do in life because you don't have a degree or you don't have certain skills or education. And so, I've been fortunate. I've worked as in human resources for 32 years as a manager, chief HR officer, and over those years, I've been able to touch a lot of lives
Yeah.
in terms of giving others opportunities because someone gave me an opportunity. And one of the things I'll never forget is when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, an attorney, an African American attorney, who knew my situation when I didn't get the opportunity. I ran into her some years later, and she shared with me that my experience that never should have happened. I should have gotten that opportunity.
Wow.
And so it was like, okay, but now I know and realize there was a reason for that.
Hmm. Hmm.
There was a reason.
Yeah.
I probably would not have appreciated my education as much. I would not have had the opportunities I've had, the experiences I've had to be able to help others had I not gone through that. So I know what it's like. But beyond that, I was able to go back to school as a a mom, a wife, a church leader, a full time worker, and get my master's with honors. And
Amazing.
and it's like only God can open doors for me to do that. And so for that, I'm forever grateful. And it's been wonderful, and it's created opportunities for me to again to continue to touch lives, help others, let them know that you can overcome whatever circumstances
Mhm.
or situations come your way. They're just foundational, and test for you to come through whatever challenges life may present to you. And so I never gave up.
I love this. I love this so much because like you said, for even from myself, I knew what I wanted and I wasn't going to let anything. Yes, I had a whole lot of bumps in the road, but I found God gave me resources. God allowed me when I did decide to go back to school. He allowed me resources where I was able to take classes, some classes for free. And I took every last class I could for free until that ran out. And then I got my student loans. But, in the back of my mind, it was always my big daddy. He had, I feel like he's always been that driving force for me because I talk about him a lot and I think about him. I mean, this man back in his time, this is my great grandfather, not my granddaddy, my great grandfather. It was my grandmother's father. For them to have all him and his brothers, they had land, they had businesses back then, said a lot about him. And I wanted to be. Did you have someone that was kind of like pushing you, although you were pushing yourself? Was it somebody like my big daddy back there just saying, you can do this, baby girl?
So interesting you would say that. So the first day I was driving to school, when I decided to go back to get my AA at the community college, the very first song that came on while I was driving was Ain't No Stopping Us Now by McFadden and Whitehead. And I knew that was my daddy because years before he was on the radio and they had a contest and you have to name the artist who the song and you win. Well, my dad got the name of the artist wrong on that song. And I'm like, why
Oh,
didn't you call me? I could have told you. And so every time I hear that song, that's
mm.
our song. So I knew when I got in that car and that song came on the radio, I'm like, okay,
So
all right.
sweet.
I'm like,
It's like
okay.
dad was sitting in the car with you. Come on, girl, we can do this.
And I'm just singing that song, bumping along.
I love it. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's all you need. I have a memory of him. I remember, seeing him. I remember being in the barber shop with him. I remember, how kind he was. And that is two things that I really got from him. One of the things is a gift of storytelling. God gave it to me, but I know it was a seed from my great grandfather because he used to tell us stories, riddles, and all this stuff all the time. So he was like kind of planting a seed in us, but even with his businesses, sitting there and watching him in a barbershop on a Saturday when everybody and their daddy would come to the barbershop, even if they weren't getting haircuts, they were sitting and talking. But seeing his relationship with them and how he treated them and how they treated him. And I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do when you're in business. Because yeah, he was cutting hair, but he was talking to him. And he even went as so far as to hire some of the guys in the neighborhood who didn't have jobs. He hired them to give them, a boost up. And that also is something that I do because if I can help anybody, I'm going to do it. And I know I got that from him because I saw that in him. And just like you and your dad, but did you have any negative things that you had to overcome? Like I had to overcome people telling me negative things. You can't do this because you're fat and you're young, and just negative things that I had to constantly overcome.
So a couple of things. One, the fact that my dad died,
Yeah.
not having him there with me at that pivotal moment and not really grieving. I didn't know how to grieve. I had that was truly my first experience with death up close and personal. And so I didn't handle it well. At least I didn't know how to handle it in a way where it would help me work through that process per se. I shut down literally for a couple of days, literally almost just zoned out. They had my father's rosary because I was born and raised Catholic. My father's rosary was on my 17th birthday.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
so that just really took me over the edge. And so that was hard. And then graduating school and being told you can't go anywhere, you got to stay here. Why?
Yeah.
And so just those kinds of things. And then the fact of I had other trauma from my childhood that I hadn't even processed. And so it's just, this piling on of things, not knowing how to deal with it. And then being a single mom, how are you going to pay for college? You working part-time?
Mm-hmm.
How you going to do that? Who's going to take care of your child? Who's going to do all these other things? And so just having to block that out to the best that I could. But I'm grateful that my my sisters, my brother, my mother said, okay, we got you. So they supported me, they encouraged me, and more importantly, my biggest support was my daughter. That was my
Oh,
encouragement.
wow.
And so to be able to show her that, yeah, look what mommy can do despite all this other stuff. You can do
Yeah.
the same thing.
That's amazing. I love that. You talk about your daughter, and I remember my niece when the story that I wrote about, can you believe this man gave me a C? And in the story, I talk about I was so mad at him. I was so hot. And I told him he was the reason why my GPA dropped because he gave me a C. Some of it was the college's fault because during that time, people were starting to take more online classes, so they didn't
Mhm.
have a lot in person. So
Yeah.
they had to reconstruct the classes, and I end up having to take a class because that was the only one left. And so the class was packed because everybody was in the same situation as me. And
Right.
the professor, he was good at his craft, doing it, but teaching it, no. Anyway, the C guy, I was talking to my niece on the phone and she had a C. And she was just as worse as was. And we were talking about our professor so bad. We were talking about him trash. And what I love about our conversation is when she said, "Oh, Auntie," she said, "I am so glad that you called me and we talked about this because it makes me feel so good to know that someone else you know working so hard at their grades, and it's
Mhm.
that we can talk about it." And she graduated cum laude. Whatever the highest is, she was one beneath it. So
Okay, I
I
think
don't know if
it's
you
either
know the
magna
magna
cum
laude,
laude or
cum
summa
laude,
cum
laude,
laude
laude.
or laude
Yeah.
laude.
She was one beneath. So anyway, but I
Yeah.
was so proud of her, and I made sure I because she lives in Georgia. I went to Georgia and I was there to support her because
Yes.
I felt it and she felt it with me. And I think that helped us to bond because, although she was down about her professor, she also did not give up because she was going to until our conversation and she was like, "I can't do this." I was like, "D is 1C." And I had to tell myself that is 1C. You can make up for it. You can do it. And that's exactly what she did.
Mhm.
I just love stuff like that.
Mhm.
So when I tell my story, I always ask questions at the end. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna answer the questions. I'll ask the question, then you can answer it, and then I'll
Okay.
answer. Okay.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
says, have you given up on a dream or a goal you set for yourself? Have you given up on one?
No. Well, yes and no. Yes, the dream of going away to college.
Okay. Mhm.
But beyond that, no. Just going away to college was the dream that I did not get to fulfill.
Okay. In my case, it was owning a salon, but
Okay.
I still have my own
Yeah.
business. It
Yes.
just wasn't that. And I feel like that's not what God wanted from me. This is what he wanted. And he
Yes.
allowed me to have the years of working in a salon. I became the assistant manager, and he allowed me to have all of that to fulfill that need, that desire. But he had a different direction that he wanted me to go, and I'm here. So
Amen.
the second question is, what are some things you did not give up on? Now we talked about what we did. So what are some things that you just did not besides school?
God.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that is, I for the last 2.5 years, right before the pandemic, I had major surgery, spine surgery.
Mhm.
And during that season of recovery, I had a great encounter with God. I had a what I call a Samuel experience where I kept hearing him, somebody call me, and I thought it
Mhm.
was somebody in the household, but it wasn't. It was him. And since then, he's just revealed to me he's always been there with me, from when I was 7 and the different things I've gone through. He was there and he was just waiting on me to come back. He was
Mm.
like, I'm still here. I've been here. And so
Yeah.
I've never given up. And I'm just like, wow. And so now I'm starting to see through different experience and revelations that that was God with me all along. Okay, okay. He
Yeah.
didn't give up on me. I didn't give up on him. He didn't let me get too far away. He let me, he gave me just enough leeway.
Yeah.
But he was like, that ain't right. And he would bring me back. And I was like, okay. And then the other person I never gave up on was myself.
Yay. I love that. Yes.
I knew there was something different about me.
Hmm.
And I've always been different. I'm number three of four children, and my older sister and brother and I, we share the same father and mother. My younger sister, we have a different father, but I was always the different one of my siblings, and it was so funny because my grandmother would say, "You just your mama's 6-bit change,"
Oh, I
but
never heard
then
that before. Say it again.
6-bit change.
Never heard 6-bit change. Go ahead. I'm writing that down.
And so whenever something would happen as kids, I would always had this catchphrase, but mama, because I always wanted the last word. Always, but mama. Because I always wanted to or felt I can explain why this happened, or I
Mhm.
had an explanation or reason. Well, it turns out I know that was an excuse, but I was always different. And over the years, different things within our family. I'm the one that folks always gravitate to. I'm the one that does this. When my when my mother passed away, I got an older sister, an older brother, and a younger sister. I'm number 3 or 4. When our mother passed away, they were like, "Well, you make decisions." I'm like, "She your mama too,"
Yes.
but they left that to me. When my paternal grandmother passed away, my grandfather, after the internment services for my grandmother, he looked at me in front of my cousins. I'm number of 14 kids. I think I'm number 11 or 12. He looked at me and said, "You the matriarch." Why me?
Mm.
And that has been my story, my life. And I've tried to run from my calling,
Hmm. Hmm.
but finally, okay, I had to wave the white flag and say, I surrender, submit. Okay. And I stopped running. And now I'm okay with who I am and where I am and whose I am because I know who I am and whose I am. I know that God created me on purpose for his purpose. And so I'm grateful. So if nothing else, again, I can't give up on God and I can't give up on me because I'm here by design to do what he got me to do.
I know that's right. I love that. And listen, you all, me and Cheryl, we only met a couple of weeks ago. So my answer is almost the same as her answer. And I'm telling you, because I am number three out of four. And for some reason, people gravitate to me the same way. My mother has some health challenges, and I am the person that put in charge. I'm number three. And your answer when you said that you never gave up on God was one of my things that I didn't give up on, because when I was I went through a lot.
Hmm.
I went through a lot in my life, but on this journey to becoming my own, having my own business, there were so many times when I wanted to give up. And God kept pushing me. And He said, all I need you to do is to just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. Just keep pushing past it. Just keep showing up. And I got you. So that's the same thing. I never got up on God. There were so many times when I almost gave up on myself because I was like, Lord, I can't do this.
Hmm.
And he's like, you're right. That's why I'm here.
Yes,
You're
yes.
right. You cannot do this.
Hmm.
You need me to help you to be able to do it. And so God has really helped me with that, that I need him because I can't do it. I
Yes.
cannot do it. So that's what when you were saying, giving your answer, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna end up saying the same thing she did, because I'm sitting here feeling the same way. I didn't give up on God, and I did not give up on my dream to be a business owner, and God is just manifesting that. So this girl, listen, I am so happy that you came
Thank
on.
you.
I am so happy you're here, because I know anyone who's out there that's attempting to give up is going to find inspiration in this podcast and in this particular episode, because it's the two of us and we had almost the
Yes.
same journey, and both of us are sitting here business owners,
Yes.
and doing what we're called to do. So I know you
Yes.
have some things going on, and so I
Yes.
want you to tell the audience, what you have going on, your email, how we can reach you, and what's going on with Cheryl.
Okay. Well, God has again been just moving and doing some magical things in my life. Just abundant blessings beyond what I could even imagine. I never envisioned myself as a business owner per se, but God had a different story, a different path for me. So in 2020, right before the pandemic, he planted a seed in me to start a business. And the first part of that business is creating gift baskets and gift boxes. So uniquely elegant gift baskets and gift boxes. And then later or this year, he actually added another component, which is my life coaching. So I
Mm.
do life coaching, gifting, and I create beautiful gifts, not just the physical, tangible boxes and gifts you see, but also I create gifts in people so that they
Yes.
receive the greatest gift, which is themselves, when they do the work to really uncover who they are, how they choose to live, how they choose to be and show up in life, and live the life that they were created to live. And so that's what I do through my business. It's called Life Design Coaching and Gifting. It's LYFEDSIGN.com. And people can reach out to me. My
Mm.
business number is 480-665-5400. And they can reach me at info@lifedesign.com.
Perfect. I will make sure I have all of that in the description, once we post it and everything, so that people can reach out to you. And listen, guys, the holidays are coming up. You
Yes.
want something different, not what everybody else had, reach out to Cheryl. She will make sure that you get it in time for Christmas. Just give her a holler, call her, or shoot her an email. Just reach out and support her. All right.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
Cheryl, thank you again for being here. You have been a pure joy. I
Thank
am
you.
so, and I'm really grateful to the fact that you chose that story because I think right now, during the holidays and right now, people, they feel bad about themselves, but we want to encourage them never to give up.
Never
So,
give up.
never
Yes.
to give up. So, thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And just thank you for sharing your story, your life, and let just being a vessel. So thank you.
You're welcome.